Honestly, I feel that there's no easy way to begin this. I mean, how do you possibly introduce your intention to integrate a myriad of different sources, all for the purpose of determining a central theme of a course titled The Self and Society, a Social Construction of Reality? I mean, on any other essay assignment, you can get off with writing a final paper on a few different sources for the open-ended purpose of just explaining a pretty particular theme, but a theme on an entire course? Well, let's just say it took me long enough to start this. Now, I think I have something here, and I hope you'll try to follow along while I integrate the entire course around a central theme. There's just one catch, though. I'm not going to tell you what that theme is. Not until the end, at least. But if you'll follow along, I think you'll be able to figure out the gist of it pretty quickly. Now, let's get down to brass tacks. No, seriously. I mean, let's literally get down to brass tacks. Look at these things. They weren't always this way. They had to be formed, cut into the shapes that they are now, or maybe even smelted, I don't know. And before that, they were just the raw materials of copper and zinc, waiting to be fused together to form the alloy we know as brass. These things are kind of like us. From the moment brass was formed, it was shapeless, without a provided identity other than brass. It had to be molded over time into something that the larger force, the molder, would find useful. Now, the one difference here is that society, being initially constructed and consistently comprised of roughly uniform individuals, is not necessarily aware that each one of its new members is being specifically coded to uphold both the good and the bad of the current system via everyday occurrences. Ads, grades, managerial superiors of any form, monetary and material wealth, and oh, Guy, please don't make me say gold stars. We all know about the gold stars. But here's the thing. This isn't inherently bad. If the system was a bulletin board and our brass tacks were the people, a complete rejection of the system by the people, who all wanted to become their own shaped brass objects, would lead to its total collapse. And as long as people are not wholly good and kind and moral and cooperative, this just can't happen, because the system helps keep order out of chaos. So then what? We just shape ourselves to be the best tacks we can be? Well, sort of, sure, but not at the expense of our knowledge that we are not solely tacks. We are brass, and it's okay to change our shape just a little. I mean, keep enough of the tack shape so that you can stick to the bulletin board like the farmer tack, Pierce Walker, or the stonemason tack, Mario Anacchini, but don't get run down by your own feverish desire to hold up more loads of paper than the next tack, like the hooker tack, Roberta Victor. And don't forget yourself in the process of making a living, like the steelworker tack, Steve Doobie, or the spot welder tack, Phil Stallings. Abandon that race to the top of the caterpillar pillar. Because ultimately, and I'm sure if we didn't know this at the beginning of the course, we know it now, devoting yourself to the desperate gambit for the tangible satisfactions of life is futile, because tangible, physical objects are like the happiness they provide, temporary. And when these objects promise intangible things like love and happiness, temporary becomes unachievable. Now, this is where things start to get a little darker. We know that certain types of things, values namely, are better designed to uphold society when constructed in certain ways. The guy who values hard work is better for society than the guy who doesn't care what happens if he doesn't try or messes up. And this value implant is arguably okay. But the person who so avidly embraces materialism and workaholicism, is that a word? I don't know, especially if he or she isn't aware of it, destroys his or her own humanity as he or she builds up society. Heck, the establishment of superficial gender-based qualifications for social perfection, or at the very least social acceptance, fall into the exact same category. Women are subversively forced into comprehensive objectification, men are subversively forced into machismo inflation, and all to sell products. To maintain the relevancy of things like L'Oreal, or Absolute Intense, or Alien Aqua, let's just look at a commercial real quick. Now, everything here seems kind of odd. The situation here is obviously quite fantastic and outlandish, and with all the shots of these people's chests and crotches, you'd think this was a bathing suit commercial or something. But let's see what it is here. Let's see what they're advertising.
Dolce & Gabbana, light blue.
Huh. So perfume then. All right, let's give them the benefit of the doubt. Let's see what Dolce & Gabbana light blue has to offer, shall we? Okay. So I don't know about you guys, but I'm not seeing any sprawling Italian seas, or cliff-laden coves, or color-corrected scenery, or scantily clad men and women. I'm just seeing a bottle that's 75 milliliters, 2.5 fluid ounces of lies. Now this is what I'm talking about, or should I say what Naomi Wolf and Gene Kilborn are talking about. It's societal preying on human insecurity and desire for companionship, telling us maybe not so much that we won't fit into society if we don't adhere to the rules and regulations of beauty and masculinity, but that we won't find love or just friendship in general. Look at this funny little thing I found online. When did this become hotter than this? Well, I don't know. The list goes on. When did this become hotter than this? Or this become hotter than this? Or this become hotter than this? How about when did the shaming of anyone's body become okay? Thank you, Google Images. The point is, all this attractiveness stuff has got to be a social construction once it starts to determine and define universal traits for desirability. Most notably, for the fact that desirability is based on personality and ads only adhere, get it? Adhere to the physical realm. I mean, dealing with the impossibility of achieving such standards leaves us to either accept the fact that we are all different as a comprehensive reality that spans all of humanity, or assume that it affirms our deepest fears and that we are alone and responsible for such a failure, thus denying us the needed release which comes from the confrontation and acceptance of that fact. Well, how do we deal with that? We could just artificially give ourselves power. Oh yeah, oh sweet mother of time and space, I thank thee for bestowing unto my humble self the power of the machine. Look at this! Once you step inside of something like this, you are something else, isolated in your own technological bubble. Man and machine is one. The lone humans on the sidewalk are mere ants under your treads. It's every man for himself out there. Each moment of human contact is fleeting and barred by metal and glass. It's almost like the internet. You can do something nasty, cut a guy off, and not face the consequences, so long as you don't crash. Well, that's another harsh reality. You are not all-powerful and invincible. And there's no way you're gonna know how to fix this, right? I mean, heck, this could be rocket science for all you know. But that's okay, you'll just get an expert. Flush that down the toilet with the rest of your problems, out of sight, out of mind, and everything's hunky-dory. What happens when that toilet clogs? Well, aside from the fact that the majority of us will find within ourselves a terror akin to what occurs when our computer gets that little spinning beach ball of death or the infamous blue screen, we're going to be faced with the idea that we've just got too much garbage, too many problems to flush away into the mysterious beyond, and that we don't know how to fix them now that they won't just go away. And I mean this on both the purely physical plane and with reference to our attempts to disguise our imperfections in our physique and personalities. We realize that if anyone sees this, they're going to know two things. One, our deep dark secrets, plain and simple. And two, arguably the worst, that we attempted to hide these secrets, to indiscriminately jettison them out of sight and therefore out of mind. You're caught red-handed when you didn't want to be, and with no way of understanding how to fix it. And by it, I mean both the toilet and your problems. So then, how can you expect things to get any better? Of course, even if the toilet does clog, and even if everyone does see what we think makes us imperfect, even if aloe vera doesn't make our skin as smooth as the Adobe Illustrator Smooth tool, it's really, really, really not the end of the world. Think back, please. Think back to when you were in 5th grade or whatever, and it was all about this thing or that fad. Maybe it was all about the Pokemon cards or those really nice shoes that the popular one had. Maybe it was all about the popular one. We are all so far removed from that now. We look back and think of how silly we were, how ridiculous everything was. Well, guess what? It's still going on. It's just not as obvious. And what's more, all our current inhibitions and concerns and worries are going to seem just as insignificant once they pass, because they are past. The only reason anything seems so imperative right now is because it's happening now. This is the most we know about how life is, and as far as we're concerned, how we feel about things now could be how we'll feel about things for the rest of our lives. Now, all you have to do when you're in a tough spot, or when you're feeling sad or dejected or in distress, is ask Death, "Hey, so is this it?" And unless you're about to spontaneously combust, Death will probably say, nah, geez man, I received no memo from my higher-ups yet, so I'm obliged by company policy not to do anything, so, no. And to put it simply, that's that. All these inlaid problems that spawn from our society, the immense worry over grades, the insecurities over our physical characteristics and various personalities, the mystification and fear of technology, all these things, as we experience them, are not the end of the world. Well, I've come to the end of my rant here. And in case you didn't pick up on it, the theme of this video is simply that all these things, all the materials we've covered in this class, even the ones I didn't specifically mention by name here, are totally connected. Throughout this entire presentation, I did not once, to my knowledge, directly quote any source, aside from the syllabus at the beginning there, and yet nothing I said is truly of my own invention. Basically, just imagine 2 big quotation marks over everything I said. It's all the direct result of the impressions those materials made on me. Therefore, the material is collectively responsible for its own network of connections, and of course, so is the man responsible for their accumulation in the first place. And the fact that these things are all so very connected just goes to show that their indications of how society and its products just inevitably exert control need to be recognized. I know that this isn't going to sound revelatory, but the theme of the course is in the name. We are all living in a social construction of reality. This does not make our existence any less promising, but only so long as we distinguish between the nature of the socially constructed human mass and the nature of our individual characteristics.